Hello and welcome to the Whiskey Closet. My name is Kevin and tonight I am tasting 2 ECBPs and 1 Larceny. It's gonna be a good time. Let's go. So we gotta start this off with a very big thank you. A good friend of mine gave me these samples. 2 ECBPs, this is C921 and B520, and Larceny C920. You know he's a good friend because he gave me these samples. Thank you, Steven. Thank you very much. I've been planning on doing this tasting for quite a while now, and one of the main reasons for doing it this way is if you go back and look at the epic tasting event episode, you'll see the ECBP and the Larceny, and there was a lot of surprise around what happened in that tasting. So I wanted to revisit that here. ECBP is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. It is from the Heaven Hill Distillery and a very well regarded release. Comes out, I'm not sure, I should look, I guess. Comes out a few times a year. Very hard to get your hands on. It's been on my wish list, my hunt list forever, and I haven't found one yet. Someday I will and I'll be thrilled. Larceny, similar. The Larceny Barrel Proof release is very, very special. You can find the regular Larceny on the shelf all the time. And I have, of course, tried the regular Larceny, and I did not care for it at all. So when the Larceny Barrel Proof did super well in that epic tasting video, I was very surprised, to say the least. So that's kind of what the point of this tasting is. I want to see if it can repeat. The other big question is, I was really surprised that I didn't pick out that it was wheated. I would have thought that the weeded characters would have jumped out of the glass at me and I would have immediately recognized it as being different. And honestly, I didn't. So let's see what happens with these 3. Let's start with glass number 1. That is so, oh my goodness, wow. What a beautiful nose. Wow, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's this dark note, caramel richness. There's some kind of fruity characters that are mixed in with that, which just really make it so interesting. There's some nuttiness. That smells great. Wow. Wow. That is unreal how good that is. The proofs, we've got 120.2 proof, we've got 127.2 proof, and we have 122.4 proof. So everything 120 and up. And it shows. And it's part of what makes it so beautiful. And that was just no exception on this first taste. Oh, amazing. After tasting it, the nuttiness is really amped up. There's a dryness that underlies it, but there's a sweetness that's really almost the predominant note in this. And so with that sweetness and the dryness coupled through the entire palate, it's kind of unusual. A lot of times you get like sweet and then fading away into dry. That doesn't happen here. They stay together through the whole experience. It's very nice. There's kind of a, maybe almost like a wet cardboard something, which is the only off-putting note that I'm getting. And the finish doesn't really get dry, but there's something interesting in the way that it lands. That's very interesting. Okay, let's move on to glass number 2. Wow, there's the richness in these is just amazing. This has some, again, with those little, this one I was getting like hints of berries. This one seems like there's even more of a red fruit impact, but such a deep, dark note to it. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Incredibly similar to the first one, but it finished, whatever that note was that I had a hard time describing about the finish here, there's more of that in here on the finish. But there was also a sweet character that I'm not sure I've ever tasted in a bourbon before. A lot of bitterness. The finish is much stronger and more bitter. Okay, glass number 3. More of kind of an ethanol nose. Let's get it really swirled up. I wonder if I can burn off some of that ethanol and give it a second to relax. My first reaction on the nose is that this one must be the outlier, but it's really hard to explain why. Oh my gosh. Oh, I think it tastes like the outlier too. Maybe there's like a touch of a cherry thing on the nose, maybe. It's still incredibly nutty, but it's got more of that alcohol marker thing. It drinks really hot. I think it feels like it's the hottest of the 3, which throws me off. It's rather astringent and it stays incredibly hot on the middle of the tongue. I want to say I'm getting more of like a dusty corn thing. I felt like the nose set it apart, and the palate seems like it's setting apart compared to the other 2, which of course makes me think it's got to be the Larceny. But it drinks so hot. And the Larceny is only 122. One of the ECBPs was 127. I mean, they're all so close to the same ballpark. Whoa. Wow. I took a minute, tried to clear my palate because I felt like I was getting a little confused. I came back to glass number 2 and then switched over to glass number 1. And the vanilla notes that are leaping out of that nose are breaking my brain. That is crazy how much vanilla I'm getting out of this. I wonder if I'll find vanilla in 3. Not really. Oh, okay, yeah, a little. Not in 2. Oh. Okay, so 3 is mean. It is hot. It burns. It's fire. Liquid fire in number 3. I would take the other 2 before I would take 3. It's just that much fire. And I don't feel like I'm usually scared of proof, but that one is like, wow. So that brings me into these other 2 as being maybe the favorite. There's a softness to 2. And there's a richness to 1. Oh, it's still very hot. The proof is really so predominant in all 3 of these. The finish is really long. There's something a little funky maybe in the finish. Real outside edges of the finish. Something. Maybe kind of a corn husky sort of something. I don't know. This is tough. This is incredibly hard. I'm just going to go ahead and call it. I think that glass number 1 is my favorite. There is a red fruits vibe that happens in the sort of early part of the palate. There's kind of a richness. There's a caramel thing. There's a nuttiness that's nice. But then it turns on a dime in a weird way and gets aggressive and harsh, and the finish is hot. And honestly, that puts me off a little bit of it, but I think of these, it was my favorite. Glass 3, similar but just intense through the whole freaking experience. If you treat it gentle, though, there's this honey and nuts. And this the dryness of it, though, is something. Yeah. I'm sticking with, I think glass number 1's my favorite. I think that this is ECBP. I think 3 is ECBP. I think 2 is the Larceny. It's very hard to explain. It's got a softness, and it's got this astringency that I don't find in the other 2. Ugh, tough call. Okay, I think number 1's my favorite. I think 1 and 3 are ECBP. I think 2 is Larceny. Number 1 is ECC921. Okay. Number 2, I would have rated as my second favorite, is Larceny C920, and therefore Number 3 is ECB 520. So let's clarify. Number 1 was the EC 921. So that's 2021. It's 120 proof. Number 3 was the other ECBP. It's the B520. That one's 127 proof. Those 7 proof are really showing up in there, which leaves the Larceny C920, which was 122. Interesting. I think I'm just lucky that I picked the Larceny out. I would really expect a wheated bourbon to leap out compared to the others. For some reason, it doesn't, to me. I mean, you know, the purpose of this whole channel, as you know, if you're a regular watcher, and please like and subscribe, is that I'm trying to learn about these things. So here's the thing. If you're a bourbon drinker, leave me some comments below. Give me your tasting notes that separate a wheated bourbon from a non-wheated bourbon. What is it that I'm missing when I taste these that makes this not leap out from the pack like I would expect it to? All right, this has been another episode of The Whiskey Closet. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.